morning. Welcome to Struggles of the Spirit. I'm your host, the Reverend Udell, and we're glad that you tuned in to watch this program today. We have been looking at the whole subject of retirement now for, about a month and a half, and there are lots of considerations. It's something all of us have to deal with one way or another, sometimes with a great deal of joy and delight, and other times with kind of confusion about what am I going to do, and can I afford it, and how will it replace the life I've had up till now. So it's not an easy subject to have personal answers to, and it's very, very individual. Everyone has a different way of looking at it, and so that's one reason why I've invited different guests here, is to hear how they have dealt with it, so we can learn and better do our own retirement. Even if we already are retired, there's always something we could learn. That's, to me, one of the exciting things about life, is that learning is never over. Not even when you graduate from the community school in Shelburne. Learning continues, and along that line we have the administrator from that school with us today to talk about retirement, Gus Mercaldo. We're delighted, Gus, to have you here.
Thank you, Lee.
And Gus is looking forward to retirement at the end of June this year, and he's such a young man. I don't think of him as retiring. So, Gus, as I said to you earlier, do you want to share with us a little bit about what you've done? Have you always been in education?
I started in education back in the late 50s. Actually started teaching in Troy, New York, where I taught for 5 years, and then moved to Shelburne in 1964, and I've been in Shelburne ever since. Taught 1 year there as a 4th grade teacher, and then the following year was made principal of the school, which has gone through lots of changes over the years. Part of us moving to a middle school in 67, and then in 94 we moved everyone to that site. So now we're all at the community school, which is, it houses grades pre-K to 8, and they're about 875 strong. So
you were and still are principal of little ones?
Actually, we're co-principals. There are 2 of us now at the community school, and we kind of split the duties up. I'm working mostly with K through 3 students, but then pick up some of the transportation, cafeteria duties, evaluation of teachers, supervision. But we share a lot of the responsibilities.
That's intriguing. I was quoting my social studies teacher the other day in 3rd grade, I think it was, and she had done some work with the Native Americans out in Mesa country.
Oh, yes.
And Hopis, I think. She came back from that. I don't know whether technically that was continued education for her, but she was just full of enthusiasm, and so we spent a whole year looking at that and other social studies issues. But I'll never forget that. I'll never forget making maps. It's one of the big things we did. I went to Ossining High School in New York State. I think it was called Roosevelt School, was the name of after Teddy, or I think, and there were certain things evidently were very popular then that, I don't know, like map drawing and map coloring.
Yes, right.
I don't know whether it's done that much anymore, but I enjoyed it, and it gave me a good sense of direction. So I've always think of someone who's worked with very small children as having a really pivotal role, because it's so much more formation of the person than when they get older.
Yes, and that's one reason why I've worked with younger children. I really enjoy being part of that development that we hope will have an impression on them as they grow older and become young adults and so forth, and go on to high school and then college and so forth. But I really do enjoy children of that age. I originally started working or started studying for teaching high school, but then changed my direction before I graduated and decided to work with elementary children. So it's been a total of 40 years in
That's
education,
quite a while.
which is it's a long time, but I've really enjoyed it. Actually, I feel the younger children just make you more vital all the time. Every time you see them, you just feel that life is just so wonderful. I think that's what's kept me going this long. It's really, and I think that's one of the major things I'll miss is not being around them all the time. But I hope to be able to volunteer some time there to keep that part of my life. I think it's really important.
Yeah. How would you do that? Have you thought it out yet? Or?
I haven't really thought all that through. There are a number of things. I just should share with you that it's pretty scary to make. It was for me, and I don't think I really realized I had made that decision until maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago when I finally decided, well, I can't change my mind now. I've made a decision, and now I need to start thinking a little bit about what I'm going to put into my life. Because one of the scary things is what happens on July 1st when you don't have to get up to go to a job. You have to report there for a certain hour, and you put in so many hours a day, and then you come back home, and that's going to leave a big hole in my life because I've been pretty dedicated to my position, and so now what do I do? And I've thought about a number of things. At first, I want to take some time for myself because I've had very little time to do that during my career, even working through spring vacations and things like that. So
well, along that line, I like what you're saying, and it's very helpful. One of my functions I feel on this program is to help make clear some things that aren't always clear. Like, do teachers and administrators sit around all summer doing nothing every year?
No, not really. Actually, that's a time when we start planning, when we begin planning for the beginning of the new school year. Administrators work, most of them work the full year, and they're supposed to take, many of them take 20 days sometime during the year as vacation time. And as I was mentioning, I haven't done very much of that, so this will be a time to really take some time to do some things for myself, and I have some thoughts about that. But to go back, during the summer we do our scheduling. We order things for this following school year. We're making changes in the configuration of the buildings and so forth, as far as how teams are organized and teachers are organized and so forth. So, and then teachers also do during the summer spend a lot of their summers, might not be the whole summer, but actually improving themselves and doing some teacher development, staff development.
Continuing education?
Right. So that they keep pretty busy. They try to take some time, though, there. Once again, you need that time during the summer to rejuvenate and get yourself back together and fortified, ready to start a new school year.
Why does so much of the public think that school teachers have the whole summer off?
Well, I think mainly because that's a time when families usually have. When they know the students are home, they think the teachers aren't working. But many times when students aren't eating during the school year, when the students aren't there, we're working on staff development, in-service training, and those kinds of things. So even though a child might be home, we might be very well working on activities at school to improve ourselves, so that we can better meet the needs of children.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. But some of my, as I mentioned, I do want to do some traveling. I have 3 brothers. Actually, one of them lives out in Vancouver, one in Tucson, and then one in Massachusetts. And my brother out in Vancouver and I have talked about taking a cruise to Alaska.
Oh my!
And
What are
I
those
really would
up
like.
the
That's one of the
coast?
places I'd like to. We'd like.
Yes.
He would like to go to, and I would as well. So we may join forces and do that. And Australia has also been another one of my my desires. And then we do have. My parents were both born in Italy, so we'd also like to go back because we do have some cousins and so forth that live there. So we'd like to do that as well.
You haven't done any travel to Italy then?
I've been there once. I was there once, not to visit family. I went to Rome with a choir, and we were doing some singing at the Vatican itself. So I was only there for 4 or 5 days, so it wasn't a very long trip, but
I've heard
really
tell
enjoyable.
that you have a very excellent voice.
Well, thank you. That's one of the other things that I probably will keep in my life, which is I'm very active at St. Catherine's in Shelburne, and actually am the cantor for 3 masses on Sunday, and during the summer actually we do the 5:15 on Saturday and then 3 masses Sunday morning, so that keeps me pretty busy.
I would think so.
Yes, so and then I lead the adult choir, so it really keeps me pretty busy.
So you're in the Episcopal Church, we call that choir master.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. That's sometimes a full-time job,
yes,
or
it
at
is.
least a half-time job.
Yeah, right. So I have to take some time off from that for a while if I'm going to do any traveling. So I'm hoping that that the pastor will be understanding there. It's hard not to have someone there when you're used to having them. So I'm sure we can work that out. One of the other things I started back in the mid '80s was I started a diaconate program in the Catholic Church, and because things got so busy and hectic at school, I had to take time off from that. So I only was in the program for about 1.5 years. And I'm in the process now of checking with the diocese to see if I can continue into that, get back into that program. I'm really very service-oriented. I like helping people, being really involved with them and seeing how I can improve their lives. So this program would help me to do that. So I'd like to continue
you're
that.
a modest man. You're not emphasizing that you might become the Reverend Gus Mercaldo.
No, not quite.
Well, you would be the Reverend if you're a deacon ordained.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that the
I don't think we get that title as
You
deacons.
don't.
No,
You don't. Just
because
deacon.
that's the step just before priesthood. So if we're at that level, we aren't called Reverend at that point.
Okay.
Yep. Deacon, they call you deacon.
Okay.
I'm sure it's a little different in the Episcopal Church,
Yes.
probably. Yep.
Yes. We have deacons who are transitional deacons, becoming priests. Then we have other deacons who are perpetual deacons, and they are always going to be deacons. They're not going to go on to be a priest.
I see.
When I was chaplain at the Fletcher Allen, I had some Roman Catholic deacons who would help us out a lot with patients,
Yes.
Patient visitation, and taking the reserved sacrament to people who were sick. And we valued that ministry very much.
Yes.
So you really have been thinking seriously about what to do.
Some things to do, yes. One thing I need to be careful of, it's a real habit of mine of just chucking my life so full that I don't have time for myself, and I need to, as people keep telling me, I need to learn to say no. So that's going to be hard to do. But I don't want to chuck it so full that I don't have time for myself. So I need to be careful of that.
Yeah, that's true. That's neat that you're aware of that fact. A lot of people feel that it's wrong to ever be concerned about yourself, but I don't believe that's true. I think that's very different than making yourself the central figure for your life in the whole universe. That's very different than being self-centered in that way.
Yeah.
We need to value ourselves and appreciate ourselves and not crush ourselves with no time to be alone, no time to think or to pray or to have fun.
To do whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true. Yeah, so many folks who have already retired say that you won't have trouble filling up your life because things just seem to roll into your life and you get involved with a lot of different things. So,
well, Gus, I think you've already answered a question that I ask most everyone who on the program here, which is where will you find meaning in your life in your retirement? And I think you, because that's an important element that everyone has to have meaning in their life. Henry Nouwen, who was a personal friend of mine, and he was a world-renowned Roman Catholic spiritual leader, said everyone needs to be fruitful in their life. Right. And particularly when you retire, it's a little harder to be fruitful because you don't have a whole school system dependent on you and hundreds of kids. It's a little more difficult, and some people feel that in their lives, when they give up their job, there's nothing that's fruitful for them anymore, and then they have a real crisis on their hands, and they're feeling deprived. But it doesn't sound that way with all of your musical ability, your skills, and your interest in becoming a deacon and assisting in other ways in the school system. It sounds like you'll have plenty of time for fruitfulness.
Yes, there are a couple other things that I've thought about. I enjoy cooking, and I was just reading in the paper a couple weeks ago that the Vocational Education Center in Essex is offering a cooking experience, and so I might look into that. That sounds like it's exciting, something to do.
What are your specialties?
Well, I'm of Italian descent, so Italian dishes, lasagna and eggplant parmesan and those kinds of things. I really enjoy cooking those. So I'd like to extend that a little bit. So I'd like to get into the culinary. I think they're using people from the Culinary Institute to teach this. So
that would be good.
So I'd like to look into that and see what I can do there. So, and then I have an interest in the theater, so I'd like to try to get involved. When I was in high school, did a lot at high school, and then did one show, South Pacific, when Lyric did it, but with the rehearsal schedules, it's just too hard when you have a full-time job with night meetings and so forth. I know other people that have full-time jobs get involved with that, but in the school business, you have a lot of night activities, and so you just don't get as much time to get into things like that.
Were you thinking of the Lyric Theater?
Yes, yes.
I'm a former New York Cityite, and I'm used to Broadway, and I think sometimes they are the equal of anything on Broadway.
They really do. They do a fine job.
They're superb.
Yeah.
You know, they really are. Very proud that the volunteers and citizens of the greater Burlington area can do that. And
yeah, it's a nice opportunity.
Oh, it's superb.
Yeah.
Well, I see what you mean. You're
going to fill up your life here.
You may not have enough time. Well, that's exciting. You have a lot of interests. That's probably made you a good school superintendent.
Well,
because seriously.
Yes.
Because as you know better than I, there are all kinds of people, and there are all kinds of gifts and talents, and we need to be aware of them. It doesn't happen too often, but I have a friend who told me that she has just about total recall. And when she was in her school as a student in it was maybe first grade or second grade, that they handed out little booklets, and she already knew how to read, and she read the whole book while the teacher, well, pamphlet, you know, it wasn't a bound book, but she read the whole book by the time the teacher had finished handing them all out, and she asked her something about the first page, and my friend said, I've just read the book. And the teacher said, you can't, now stop lying. The teacher didn't understand that there are people like that. I mean, I'm not one of them, let me tell you. I'm not one of them.
Sure.
I'm a slow reader, but there are some people like that, and they never forget what they have read. What I have forgotten would fill a library, you know. But to know that there are different kinds of people is, I think, that shows in you, Gus. You know, that the quality of teacher you
well, I think we're forced now in education to accommodate those students who have that ability. If they have that ability, you can't hold them up and take them through all the rigors of learning to read if they already have some of those capabilities. And so, and I think that's what's changed education so much, is that now we're really meeting the individual needs of children. I'm going to miss all that, but I think I'll fill up my life with other things. You know, I see this, for a while I was really worried, but now I see this as a new beginning. So I shouldn't worry about it. I should look at it and say this is an opportunity, and go from there. I know I was worried about, you know, how about finances? How do you do all the wonderful things that you want to do?
Most of these things that you don't get any money for.
Right. So it's so those are things we'll have to look at. And I am 66, so I will be eligible for Social Security and those kinds of things, and also teacher retirement. So those things will help to
help the financial issues. Are you required to retire at a certain age?
No. I think most schools would require maybe around 70 if you were at that point, and might suggest that you leave at that point. Actually the town the school district is very good in that they have offered teachers career change incentives, so that they will give them some financial assistance to change their career, because some of them are, you know, in their 50s and so forth, and aren't ready for full retirement, so they could change their career and get into other activities. So,
for example, what would that be like if you were 50 and you wanted to change your career?
I think part of this year's contract that the teachers were offered 70% of the average of their last 3 teaching years, and they pay that over 3 years. So it gives you a little income so that you could go out and actually start another career, or some people have been in education enough they want to do consulting and those kinds of things. So.
No, that's very generous of the school to
really
do
is.
that.
It's another way for actually it will save the school district money in the long run, in that as the more experienced teachers leave, they're higher on the pay scale, the salary schedule, then they usually hire somebody that's younger, more or less starting their career. You know, 3rd or 4th year teacher and so forth.
Much lower rate.
Yeah.
Is there some way, as I think about the different things you're considering to do in retirement, is there? I don't think of anything offhand that would give you contact with children. Have you thought about how to do that, since that's been a part of your life?
Yeah. If I do get involved with the Deacon program, I could very well be involved with the church and be their religious education coordinator, so I would be involved with teachers and kids. But I do plan to spend some time. I have no idea at this time how much, but to actually volunteer some time at school for an hour, a couple hours a week, a couple days a week, something like that, where you go in and we have people that will read with students, some that will do some instruction with them as well. So I'm sure I could be pretty. People are already trying to sign me up. When are you coming in to help us? So no commitments yet. Let me get out of here first. So,
that's a nice compliment for you that they are interested in having you back in a you know. And
well, I've built up some real friendships over the past 35 years. So with people that are still, some people that have been there 26, 27 years. So.
It's a family.
We have some bonds.
It's a family.
Some bonds there, so.
It's an extended family.
It really is. And it has been my family. I really have devoted a lot of time. So.
Yeah. That's really wonderful. I'm not an expert with children. I enjoy children very much, and I'm a adoring grandfather of one child. I'm very Lily. Well, you remember my daughter, Lily. She has a girl by the name of Esther, and she is 3 years old, and we have provided daycare 1 day a week
wonderful.
Since she was born. So we have a special relationship with her, and it's very, very wonderful. There's something that I've often felt, particularly in the religious area, and I suppose I guess I felt it in education too, that so often children, the young children, maybe under age 8, they sometimes have a perspective on life and learning that we adults don't have, and there's a freshness and an intuitive grasp that we often don't have. And I taught school for a while myself to children ages 8 through 13, and I was teaching a class in science to 8-year-olds, and we were talking about the universe, and I explained that it's quite large. We're talking about light years of travel and distance, and one little boy said, "Well, there's just got to be a stone wall at the end of the universe somewhere. There's got to be. Everything has a dimension, you know, height and width and length. There's got to be like a stone wall there." And I was fortunately bright enough not to make any comment. I just let him ponder what he had just said. And then he thought with this profound statement, he said, "But if there's a stone wall there, what's on the other side?"
Wonderful, yes.
And suddenly he grasped intuitively the whole awesomeness of the universe and the impossibility of really rationally discussing its dimensions. So I think children have a lot to teach us.
Oh, they sure do. We can learn from them all the time.
Yeah,
that's very true. And they're so at those younger ages, they're so uninhibited about expressing their feelings and actually helping making relationships more positive and so forth. If you just give them a chance to open up and share with you how they're feeling, that's really wonderful.
Yeah, I've often felt that way about religious education. That sometimes we adults are so eager to stuff down their throat things they should learn and know and memorize and remember, but we don't ask them, what is your experience of God? You know, they and sometimes they have distortions, gross distortions, and other times they have profound insights and knowledge. Right. So it's there was in the Christian prayer, the Lord's Prayer, deliver us from evil. One child said to me, deliver us from eagles.
Ah,
He thought it was eagles, and he had always misunderstood,
Yes.
thought it was eagles. And I don't know where he became fearful of eagles, but that was his association. And so it's we really need to learn from kids.
oh, sure. That's
Yeah.
very true.
Do you have some issues you want to explore here on television around this subject?
Well, I think one of the main things I want to share with people is that I think we have a fear of not having a regular job every day and those kinds of things, and that they should look, at least the way I'm going to look at it, is this is an opportunity for me to look at all the things that are possible things that I could do, some things that I'd like to try, some things that I might have been hesitant about trying, and maybe even make a list of all those things, and then to say, well, now I've got time, maybe I want to do this. I want to learn to ski, or I want to do more with cooking, or just list all those things that you've ever thought of that are out there. Mm-hmm. And then say, okay, I want to try this, but this I have no desire to do. And that's why I say I'm getting over my fear now of that, of going out and starting all over again. And now I can do some things that I may have desired a long time ago to do and haven't been able to.
But you're not starting all over again.
But
really.
the whole thing is to keep active, and because I know I've seen people who haven't after they've retired, and they get sickly and so forth, and they really don't have any desire to go on. And I just see this that this is a continuation of my life, and it isn't over till it's over.
That's right. That's right.
So,
and sometimes life can be even more rewarding,
oh, sure,
more fascinating, and valuable as we get older. I'm technically retired, but as I told people, I don't want to really retire, meaning doing nothing.
Right.
I want to slow up. I know I need to slow up, but my body isn't quite what it used to be. But I don't want to stop. I want to continue in my activities. So some of the questions I normally ask people, you've already answered. I mean, besides fruitfulness, where you get your own private space, and you have a home, you live alone, as I understand.
yes, yes.
And so you have private space there, and then you have all these other things you're considering doing, whether you have plenty of people.
Sure.
So I mean, everyone needs private space.
Oh, sure.
No matter who you are, no matter how large your family is. If you have a spouse and children, you need private space. I know a woman where she said it was difficult. The only way she could get private space would go into the bathroom, and lock the door.
Well, some moms do that.
Yes, it's not unheard of.
Leave everybody on the other side and go inside.
That's right.
Lock the door.
That's right.
And I have lots of friendships that I've built up over the years, and I want to continue my relationships with my colleagues. I don't intend to let that just go by the wayside. I hope we can set up something where we're meeting on a regular basis and getting together.
Yeah, that a professional group, maybe?
Yes, possibility.
Had you ever thought of writing a book?
I haven't. People have said, "Oh, you put that in your memoirs," and I just haven't thought about that yet. But
No, I didn't mean in memoirs.
I mean something
more
to
on a
sure.
subject.
Oh, yeah, I hadn't really thought about that.
Having worked most of my life in hospitals, I have a lot of friends who are doctors, and some of them I think that they really should write a book. And when I've asked some of them to do that, they've said, I'm so busy in my practice, I just have no time to do that. And so, if there was something that you wanted to say about, well, like an issue that's been important to me, is that as I've understood the educational process for teachers in primary and secondary school education, that you get prepared to be a teacher, but you don't necessarily have a subject that you are in love with and you want to communicate to everyone else. And I personally feel that that's been a lack, a fault of the system. I mean, that third grade teacher who had been with the Hopi Indians, she had a great love of what she learned, and that stuck with me my whole life. Her enthusiasm, and I guess in high school, I remember I had a English teacher who loved English lit, and she communicated that and her love of writing to us. But many of the other teachers were not that way. They weren't interested in the subject matter they were teaching, and they were just being teachers.
I think nowadays so many of them have so many other interests that they bring those interests into their teaching. I know there's a teacher at school, Carol Smith, who's really excited about different cultures, and she visits various places in the world, and then brings that back, that whole new perspective back to her students. And she even brings back their clothing and their jewelry and their habits and so forth, and shares those with the group. So when they do things on different cultures, that she can bring that element into.
Oh, that's excellent.
And that's important. It actually brings the learning to life for kids if they can actually see pictures and videos and so forth of different countries and all of that. So that's a lot of times during the summer. That's what teachers do. Also, they'll do some traveling, and then that brings a new whole perspective back to their teaching with students. I think our whole thrust now is to really to make learning really exciting for kids, and not teaching, like you said. Usually in religious education, you try to fill them with all the doctrine and all that, and you try to put it all inside, trying to fill the bottle. But now what we try to do, because there's so much knowledge out there, is to give them ways in which to gather that knowledge, and then they can be learning on their own, not necessarily having someone there saying you got to do this next, this next, this next. So it's really an important part of learning today.
When I was a child, the high-tech electrical device that we were interested in was called a radio.
Yeah, right.
And that was it. You know,
right.
That was it, and maybe some short wave, and there was nothing really else. And now I'm just intrigued at how young children are so conversant with computers. They're just they seem to have a gift that I don't have. You know.
Yes.
And their young age is an advantage. It's rather than being a disadvantage.
Yeah, it's really it's so amazing how they can. I mean, they can get on the internet and investigate any subject whatsoever. So you can't possibly keep all that knowledge in your head.
No.
So you can go somewhere and get that information, and then use it for whatever purpose. But so the computer is a wonderful piece of wonderful learning tool. At least that's the way I envision it.
Well, the school system has computers,
yes.
of course.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I remember when they first came out, There were some taxpayers who thought that was a waste of dollars.
They were pretty precious back then.
Yes.
That's changed a lot.
Oh, yes, they're essential now.
Right.
Are there some things, Gus, that in your retirement that you want to, your own, you don't need to tell the camera what they are necessarily, but are there some like personal things that you want to do? You said maybe go learning to ski or to ski more, or some things in your time. Well, you already mentioned some of them, but going to Alaska, I guess, seeing your brothers, Italian cooking, maybe to do more with your voice, to have some very good professional voice lessons. I mean, are there those kinds of things?
Yes, that's there are a number. That's why I say I need to sit down and really think all that through, and then highlight some things that I really want to get into. If I'm going to continue to do the music work I've been doing, I probably do need to do something with some vocal lessons and so forth, so I'm not straining vocal cords and things like that. So I did at one time when I was in high school do a little vocal training, but I had to discontinue that with everything else that was going on. So that is a possibility.
What I'm thinking of is that there's a freedom in retirement to pay attention to things that are important to you personally, but you haven't had time to deal with before. And that's, I think, one of the gifts of retirement.
Right.
It's a bit of a shock when you you start saying to the clerk at the movie theater that you're a certain age and you want the discounted ticket.
Senior, whatever.
Yes. There's a cheaper rate for the subway in Boston where I often
really?
am,
Yes.
and but you have to apply for it or something. And
you have to have a little card, do you?
Yeah, I think you have to have a little card. You have to flash this card, but I have I'm not willing to do that.
You're not ready yet for that.
I'll pay the 85 cents and pass for a younger person. But,
well, I understand there are a number of advantages out there for those golden years, so probably have to start taking advantage of those.
Excuse me. For airline travel, I have some friends who have done that. There's some tickets that you can buy.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
That I can't tell you the whole thing, but it's sort of like you can buy, I think it's 4 generic tickets from an airline, which are good pretty much anywhere and within the continental USA, and for a rather low price. And so if you want to fly out to Vancouver, you can do that at a greatly reduced fare.
I have to look into that.
Yeah, check it out.
I'm sure there are a number of things through AARP that that would be eligible for retired people.
And I haven't looked at the elder hostel but myself, but I'm familiar with the concept, and I know many friends who have been in them, and they've really enjoyed them. So that's something else.
I'm sure some of these tour things that happen every year and so forth would be great to take advantage of.
Well, going back to Italy would be intriguing. I never was in Norway, but my mother is 100% Norwegian, and her mother and father were born and raised in Norway. So I've always wanted to go to Norway just to see my roots, and so I can imagine how you'd like to go
to
Italy and see a lot more of it.
Yeah, two of my brothers have been back earlier when my mother was still alive. They went to visit, and they spent a couple weeks over there. So that we'll probably join together and go over, and they know a little bit about it, so I won't be going to something really strange.
Our son Nathaniel, you remember?
Oh yes,
Nathaniel. Right. He wanted to tour Italy. That's where he chose to go, to Milan.
Oh, wonderful!
That's where he based his operations, and of all of Europe and England and Scandinavia, he wanted to go to Italy. So partly because he's an artist with a camera, and so he called us one morning from Italy, and my wife Sue, you know her. She picked up the phone and he said, "Buongiorno, Mama."
Oh, wow.
He was standing there and he was looking at the Cathedral of St. Mark, is it? In there's a term for it. It's an Italian term, but duo. Well, anyway.
Yes, I don't know it.
Duomo. He was looking at the Duomo,
right.
And so it sort of brought Italy very close.
Sure, right.
Well, it's time now for the public to phone in.
Oh, wonderful.
Our time is going kind of quickly. We hope some people will phone in. There are many of you out there who must know this gentleman, our guest, and have questions you'd like to ask him. So. Or statements you want to make. So please call us. We have been talking here with Gus Mercaldo, principal at the Shelburne Community School. He's been there for a long time, and he's seen many, many people come there as children and grow up, including my own two children. And it's been a privilege to have our kids there with you, Gus.
Oh, thank you.
Really has. And so this is your time to call and to talk with Gus about retirement and his retirement, and perhaps something you want to just say about your knowledge of him as a public figure in this part of Vermont. So please call us. The number is on the TV screen, and we'll be delighted to receive your call. You never know, Gus, how many times the phone will ring. Sometimes we have a lot of calls, sometimes we don't. It's hard to predict, and there's no way. It doesn't mean anything if you have none or if you have a lot. It's hard to understand the difference.
Well, you're not sure how many folks are watching right now at the moment. So
yeah.
So is Nathaniel still? Where is he now?
Well, he's been in Seattle.
Oh.
Well, he went to the main photographic workshops up in Camden, Rockport area of Maine for 3 years. Worked up there,
wow.
And learning and then teaching and working in their lab, photo lab, and then he went to Seattle because he wanted, as a photographer, to do some picture taking in the West. And this last year, he's been working with Amazon.com in Seattle, and enjoying that, and going hiking. And Frisbee seems to be a big activity in Seattle. And pedestrians have the right of way. They really have the right of way. You can get a ticket if you're driving a car and you don't respect the pedestrian. And he's very impressed with it. But it is damp, he says, a lot of the time. That he's going next fall to the Institute of Fine Arts at California, at Valencia, outside of LA. And he's getting a Master of Fine Arts in photography and sculpture.
Oh, wonderful.
So finally he's been looking to do that for quite a while, and he's won at the right school, and he's very happy that he's going there. So I'll tell him you
wish him a lot of luck. That sounds like really exciting.
Yeah. And then he wants to be a teacher, teach photography.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah.
He's not going to take pictures of babies or weddings or things like that. He's interested in it as an art form.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
But he knows he's not going to make much money, at least at first anyway, that way. And he sold a few paintings, and he has, I mean, not photos, and he has a few photos in a couple of museums already, but you can't live on that. And so he'll probably teach and continue to do photography.
Mm-hmm.
But that's an example of when he was at the village school. See, now it's coming out on my unconscious mind. For our viewers who don't know what I'm referring to, the village school used to be the name of that segment of the Shelburne school system for young children. Now it's all community school. But anyway, it would be hard to know what someone would do for a living when they grow up, and it's amazing. We've had some who've gone to Broadway as singers, and we have people in professional orchestra. I mean, I guess jazz groups.
Oh yes, all kinds of.
It's amazing.
Professions.
Yeah, it's not just to be a nurse or a teacher or a doctor or clergyman. There's so many variety of things out there. So I appreciate your asking. So again, we ask you to phone in and share your thoughts and your ideas with us about retirement and about Gus Mercaldo and his sharing with us about his own plans for retirement. There's a term that I prefer to senior citizen. I prefer older adult.
Older adult.
Well, there's young adult, there's middle-aged adult, and we all use those terms. And so why not older adult? To say senior citizen to me is sort of an insult, because people don't genuflect when I walk down the street. They don't consult me for my wisdom.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, we do have to find a new term for that age, because so many it's amazing. I think in Shelburne, close to 60% of our population is people who are over 60.
That much.
Yeah. So it's and I think that's true in the nation, that there are a large number of folks who are over 60, and we need to find a new term for them rather than senior citizen.
That's why I like my term, because it's in keeping with what we say about younger people.
Or young adult, yeah.
Yeah, let me see, young adult. So older adult, it just, I think it fits. I don't like the word that sometimes, if someone is ill, they're called an invalid. Because that's the same word as invalid.
Right,
you know,
that's true.
You're never invalid. And there's some language there that needs to be changed. Something that I have found about my own getting older is that when you're earning a living, you're somewhat required by the nature of your job to remember people's names and faces. But then when you're not earning a living anymore, you're not required to remember anything.
Right.
And so what often happens is that people let their minds drift. They don't discipline their minds, and so they begin to be more forgetful. They begin to be more vague, less exact, less specific, and I don't know. Have you noticed some of those tendencies in people?
Yes. Yeah. You really have to discipline yourself to keep remembering names and all those things. Can't just I don't think you can let the reins go there and
you
just
have all
let
those,
yourself slide.
Yeah. You have all those teachers you need to know,
sure.
and volunteers,
Sure.
and many of the children.
Yeah, at one time I knew all the kids by their first, at least their first names, and or family name. But now with almost 900 of them, it's a little harder to do.
Well, that's quite an accomplishment. That's quite an accomplishment. And when someone hears their own name being used, it does things to them.
Oh, sure.
It really makes them feel important, valued, cared for, appreciated, and you have a lot more respect for the individual who's doing it.
Right.
I remember Bishop Joyce, the Roman Catholic bishop of this Diocese of Burlington. I think he'd only met my wife once, and she and I were walking down Burlington streets, and there suddenly was Bishop Joyce, and he walked up to us and said, "Hello, Suzanne," and "Hello, me." You know, I mean, she said, "How did he remember my name?" I mean, he had a real gift, but a discipline too, for remembering names, and it really was very special. We're still looking for phone calls. We're talking about retirement, and we have a special guest today, Gus Mercaldo, principal at the Shelburne Community School. Please give us a call. We have 2 minutes left. We can still hear your thoughts and share with you. Would be delighted to have you call.
Now, is Lily doing anything professionally now? Or
She's at IBM,
working
there in research and development, sort of as in management and administration, and she really loves it. There's always something new and different, and
yes, sure.
she's given a lot of responsibility, and so it keeps her happy and not bored. Well, Gus, I think I hear our theme music beginning to come on, which is a way of saying to me that our time is just about up. It went very quickly having you here today.
It did go fast.
I've really enjoyed our time together, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I know our public has, because they tell me that in the supermarket, on the streets, and other places. And they will tell you, "Gus, I saw you on TV." And then I always say, "Well, why did you phone?" But thank you for being here and sharing with us about your retirement, and I hope that people may get some good ideas from your example.
Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, I think
It was enjoyable.
I think it's a public service, we might say. So education is something that never stops.
No, we're always learning.
We're always learning.